Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics Tuesday night Q&A, live answering a heap of your questions ahead of round 23. For people listening back to the pod, it is Tuesday, the 13th of August. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BalesDT across the socials. And joining me tonight is one of our co-hosts. Tim is busy tonight, but we do have our other co-host and fantasy fanatic. It is Jordox. Mate, how are you? I can see you wearing your Crows gear, mate. Good win on the weekend.
Oh, great win, mate. Really good. Funny what happens when we have a strong side on the park. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm all these years of being a Crows fan does render you somewhat delusional, and I can't help but feel slightly bullish on next year still. So it's good to see a result like that.
Yeah, exactly. How did your fantasy team go, mate? Any grand finals you're in this week or prelim finals, any leagues? And then let us know what your sort of rank and stuff like that's going.
Yeah, so the big league I'm in is Classic League and Dream Team, and it's actually our 20th year of the league, which is a hell of a feat. And I'm through to the prelim. So I had the week off. So one of my mates, my rival, has got me in the prelim this week. So I'm a bit nervous about that one. Through to a grand final and draft, out in my keeper league, and got the win in the Shiva league. So I'm through to the prelim in Shiva. So that's exciting. Beautiful. And then, you know, the team that we talk about on this pod, my AF Classic side, in the shitter. It's all falling apart, and I can't even put my finger on what's gone wrong with my side. I was tracking pretty well, but yeah. Anyway, 2 more weeks, so I think it's time to have some fun with trades and maybe do some wacky stuff.
Yeah. I think that there are either people in one or two camps at this point of the fantasy season, either people still heavily involved because they're of rankings and maybe grand finals, or people that have switched off because they're either out of their leagues or their ranking is just not going the way they thought it was, hoping it was going to go. And then they've probably may even turned their attention to AFLW fantasy, which I certainly have, even though I've still got a big grand final up this week, obviously against Luke in the Content Creators Cup. So looking forward to that. But obviously we dropped our first AFLW Fantasy Pod episode earlier today. So make sure you guys go and check that out. It's obviously on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Me and Jaden, obviously Jaden Popowski, who is the Sats man we know and love around the fantasy community, jumped on as a co-host for the upcoming season. So we chatted through a heap of things about the upcoming season, our thoughts, sort of learnings from last year, strategy going into this year, and some locks that we've put into our team. So if you are new to the game and you sort of don't quite know who you're going to put in, you can hear me and Jen give some of our locks, and you may be able to chuck them in your side as well. So yeah, make sure you guys go and check that out. But we will move to some AFL fantasy stuff heading into the second to last week. So I think Jordox is probably just as simple as I think people are targeting players that have got 2 really good matchups in the final ones and trading players that are either got bad matchup this week or have got potentially 2 bad matchups, which we have a few players there. So sort of we'll go through the lines quickly before we get into some listener questions. As always, if you guys are tuning in live on YouTube or Twitter or even Twitch, if a few people over there as well, and we want to ask some questions, put them in live chat and we'll get to answering those very shortly as well. And if you'd like to leave a super chat as well to guarantee your question being answered, you feel free for that as well. But yeah, Jordox, what are you looking at doing in terms of targets across the line? So we'll start defense. Who are your defender targets with the final 2 matchups?
Well, look, Nick Newman, he's really got going now. And, you know, this was someone you talked about, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he's going to finish with the Eagles and the Saints, I believe. So he's a pretty good target. He's still under 900. I'm not going to talk about Luke Ryan. I'm never going to talk about that person ever again. Apart from that, I don't know. Sinclair's still good. I grabbed him last week. He's still got those 2 weeks to come. That'll be very solid.
I think he's very good. I think that the fact that Carlton have got, I don't know if you've obviously seen that they've got like 6 new injuries and they've got like 17 players on the injury list. So this is definitely not the time of the year you want to be getting injuries, especially to key players like both key forwards out this week. So you never know. That matchup next week for Sinclair might actually be not too bad.
And then you've got a guy that we've seemingly talked about so many times this year, but if you are strapped for cash, Christian Salem looked pretty good on the weekend. He was back a couple of weeks ahead of schedule. I don't know who he's got in the last round, but I can see he's got the Suns this week.
Got Collingwood the week after, so good couple of matchups. I don't know if I could do it.
No, look, it's if you're strapped for cash, 654K,
Yeah.
and from what I could see watching on Saturday night, he didn't really play midfield. He was kind of floating a bit off halfback, and players off halfback have been doing pretty well against the Suns. So,
would you rather Matt Roberts? Is about maybe 30, 40 odd K more expensive, 691. He's got this week he comes up against Eston, then goes into the Crows in the final week. Would he be someone maybe you go over Salem?
Yeah, he's really got a good 5 weeks behind him, doesn't he? Yeah, look, you could. Yeah, look, this point of the year, unless you are fighting for the car or top 100 or whatever it may be, if you're not going to get that, yeah, I think it's just time to have a bit of fun.
I guess with Roberts and Salem, they could be D7s because they're under 700K. You might be able to flick that round.
Oh, yeah.
Like even if you've got a Dowling or a Humphreys, it's not too far to go up if you're maybe looking at doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. What about you? Anyone else that sticks out for you?
Well, yeah, I think that I think Sheasel, Whitfield. Obviously, we'll talk about Sheasel. We'll talk about obviously Sheasel. Can't really say too much more than the fact that he is a little bit of doubt to play this week. But I think you still will play. But obviously, I'm no doctor and I don't work at North, so I wouldn't know. But I just have a feeling he will still play. But there is obviously that little bit of doubt there. So I guess maybe saving a trade for the Sunday could be a play this week. But at the end of the day, as long as you've got a trade up your sleeve, Sinclair plays after. So you'll know and you can always go to Sinclair and the Wanganeen Miller. You've got a few options to go to after. But I think he will play. But yeah, Whitfield, Stewart, Newman, and Sinclair, I think, are the four, along with Shees, are the ones that I'd like in my side. And then that final spot, you've got plenty of options. Like I don't mind a day cost, probably more next week, just because I don't think Melbourne are going to tag. I think the season's done for Melbourne, so I don't see them going out of their way just to go, we have to shut day cost down. This week against Brisbane, however, could be a different story because Brisbane are playing for that top foot to try and get back in the top four. And yeah, like McKercher could be someone that you look at as well. He's been pretty good. He was good again last week there. I like Holmes. I know that he's put up really bad scores, or not really bad, but not great scores the last well over a month. But he's got St Kilda and West Coast. So I think two great matchups. If you're looking for someone based purely on matchup, I think Max Holmes is definitely someone that you can look to as well.
Houston, yeah. Dan Houston could give you a couple of good weeks. He's reportedly on the move down to Melbourne, but he loves a showdown, Houston. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had a good one this week. And Sicily as well, who is, 8-10? He's got the Tigers, and geez, the way the Hawks are going.
And North.
Yeah, Tigers are North. So yeah, Sicily's there. There's a guy with a ceiling anyway, if you want to finish the year with a bang.
Yeah. I just don't know if I could go there just because his shoulder injury. Obviously, he's still carrying that. Whether he has surgery on the off season or not, I'm not sure. But he's obviously good enough to still be playing. But one to watch for next year, though, because obviously the reports today is that Barrass will be going to Hawthorn. And if Hawthorn get Barrass and then Sam Frost there, then you've got Sicily's as the intercept defender, like what he did last year, where he's a high-scoring player. I think he could be someone that we look at. Moving to the midfield, anyone you sort of like in the mids?
No one from my team, that's for sure. Let's have a look. Let's see. Bont. I still like Bont. He's going to be pushing for a Brownlow. Didn't get any votes on the weekend because he had Michelini running with him at times on the weekend. Didn't affect his scoring, that's for sure. You got Steele against the Cats this week, and
I've got two big targets in the mids.
Jordan Dawson's cheap, but I don't like. He doesn't have a great couple of matchups.
He Yeah, red.
Ready, red. What do you reckon? Who are your two?
Yeah, so my two, I think Sam Walsh. Obviously, Carlton have got a lot of injuries. His game time's been up, and the fact he's got West Coast and St Kilda, I think they're still, I think, can go quite well. But then the one I'm quite keen on that I'm at this stage currently bringing into my side is Noah Anderson, who has got Melbourne this week. Don't expect the tag there, and it's a people first staying where we know he goes well. Then he goes into Richmond at the MCG in the final round. So I'm a big fan of him. Those are two pretty good matchups there. And yeah, I think it's funny with the midfield though, because a lot of players have got average matchups to finish the year. There's not many that have got like great matchup. Like a lot of them have got maybe a good one and a hard one. A few of them have got like hard and hard. Like for example, like you look at a Caleb Sarong, who I'm trying to trade out this week with the Bedford tag, very likely to go his way. Then he's got Port in the final round. So that sort of screams to me that could be two lower scores. Even a Brayshaw, I know he probably won't get the tag or anything, but it's still two difficult matchups. So it's interesting. Like, but maybe Tom Green has got a couple of okay matchups, like Freo and Dogs. Obviously, we've seen him go well against the Bulldogs last year with that one, I think 150 or 160 or something that he went at Manuka Oval. And then Freo, not too bad. So a few decent ones, but it is hard in the midfield, I think. Is that what you found, that a lot of mids have got a few sort of average to harder matchups?
I just find it so hard to pick. It's just so hard to pick. You know, you might think it's a bad matchup and then they go well, or you think, oh, this is an easy matchup, and they don't. It's just the variables in the midfield this year have just been all over the place. I guess a couple of things I'd mention. I really found whether it was a tag or a run with job on Errol Goulden was really interesting. I feel like, and Swans fans could tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the first time a side has really thought he's too damaging to run free. Let's clamp him. And it was really effective. I know he had a good last quarter, as did a couple of the Swan mids. But I don't know, just was interesting and could be a blueprint for, you know, how sides come up against Sydney in the future and say, well, he can be stopped even though he's a running machine. So I've got him. I think most coaches would have him. But I'm just tossing up whether or not he's worth the VC on Friday night. I don't know who at Essendon would even go with him, but yeah, it's just interesting to see him get tagged.
Yeah, well, the only other time I remember getting tagged was last year against, I think, Gold Coast. I think Toot ran with him for a bit of the game. Yep. So that's there. But in terms of you're talking about Goulden VC, obviously not captains will be video will be on Thursday. But I think everyone will be doing very similar to what they did last week, because I did send the detached edit saying about Tim English being confirmed out, which is what we're hearing as well. Tom Morris put that out earlier today. So Tristan Cherry will be going up against very likely probably Sam Darcy. I would imagine he'll be in the ruck, maybe and split with Lob. Or they bring in, I think, Lachlan Smith, who's been their VFL ruck. But I imagine they stick with Darcy and.
Well, would they do that to young?
No, they would do that. They're not going to do that. It's going to be, it'll be Darcy and Lob has been playing well in defence, so I think he stays. But that means that they've got I think they've got quite a tall forward line anyway, so I think that it's not going to be too bad regardless. So I think Darcy so obviously DFS and stuff like that. Darcy could be okay with more ruck minutes. Obviously, a hard matchup, but yeah. So. We'll move to the rucks. So the rucks, we know which rucks we're looking at. It's Tristan Cherry and Ryan Marshall, and obviously Marshall got another great matchup this week. Forwards, if he comes back in, could we dare go back to Philippou again, because it's now been twice he's done us. He's first time out on the Tuesday with injury, and then now this time laid out with illness.
Second last game of the round. Thanks, Mateus. Hope you're feeling better though, young fella.
Yes. Could we? Because I feel like we can still. I feel like we can. Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I'm sure he can. I'm sure that he'll have the same role. So I think we can still go there. Geelong's a good matchup for mids. Would you be happy enough to still bring him in this week if he's named?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw what he did coming off of a 2-3 week hiatus when he was injured, and he was great when he came back. Scored a 90 odd in that drubbing against the Lions, I think it was. So yeah, he had the sniffles, or as Someone in the comments before was asking if he had the squirts. So, how would we know? What does it matter? Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was a joke because the nickname Pooh. But anyway, let's clean this up, shall we? I think he's definitely an option this week again. I don't see any reason why you would change. He had that great matchup last week, but he's got another one this week. So, yeah.
I think that the big target, like obviously if people watching on YouTube probably seen the thumbnail, and if you haven't, if you haven't seen the thumbnail, then maybe go check it out if you want. But the two players on it, Nick Newman, who we talked about before, and I think the other big target this week is Dylan Moore, who's got Richmond this week, and then he goes into North Melbourne in the final game. So is he someone that if you didn't have him, you'd be not doing everything you could, but making it a note that you really try and bring him in this week?
Any forward that gets close to scoring a ton becomes a target, unless they're a random key forward that does it. So Dylan Moore, absolutely. I've been a bit of a critic of his in a fantasy sense this year. I've had him. I think I got rid of him. I brought him back. I just couldn't ever quite get that run of games where he went well. But yeah, on the weekend he showed when the Hawks are in that sort of mood, he absolutely thrives. He took 15 marks, which is, don't expect that every week, but for another couple of weeks, for sure, Dylan Moore is a target.
Yeah, and is he probably Fisher? Apparently, might be named this week. Could you go there if he's named, or do you think it's just too risky with who knows if he's sub or who knows?
You'd want to see a little quote from a Clarko or an assistant coach saying he's back and he's going to play the role he was in. Who knows what they'd do with him? What's he priced at?
Well, if you had Philippou F7, and he was on your bench, and you had, let's say, Brad Hill, like I've got, right? I'm not going to Fisher, by the way, but just if you had Brad Hill on your field, then you had forced to pivot away from someone last week, and then you could go Brad Hill to a Fisher, and then if Fisher sub, or you hear word that it's not going to be a good role, or you can even might be able to loop him because Philippou plays after him. So could that be a bit of a play if you're looking at targeting a Fisher as a bit of a pod?
No, Philippou's Saturday night, and then Fisher's on the Sunday. Is that what you meant?
Is he? Is Philippou on this? Oh, why do I
it's the other way around.
Why do I think Sinclair was on the Sunday? Okay, I was probably still thinking from last week.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I don't know, Fisher. Yeah, look, you certainly could. I mean, you could still do Peatling. I know Cornelia is going to be back, or likely to be back. Who else is in the forward line? I think, like, trading for a bit of fun and just seeing what you can pull off. I mean, the forward lines were the place to do it. What about a Connor McDonald? He's got the Tigers and North. He's going at, what's his last?
His last four, 86, 110, 60, and 118.
Yeah, so 3 out of 4 pretty good with a low of 60. And even the 3 weeks before that, so post-bye, 103, 90, 64. So he's another guy who, when the Hawks are humming like they have been, he really gets amongst 12 tackles.
Black Book next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's his actual average?
76.1.
It won't be that cheap. So I don't mind him for a couple of weeks. Brent Daniels, he sucked. I wonder if he got that mid-time on the weekend. How
about Jeremy Cameron? St Kilda this week, then West Coast in the final week. Could you do that as a 2-week play? Because Curnow was the one that we were looking at because he had West Coast this week. But obviously being out, could Jeremy Cameron be the key forward you look at?
I reckon next week. I reckon he's a one-hit wonder. I'd be a bit nervous going twice, but possibly.
Yep. That's fair. If you had a Philippou, I guess you could loop between the two for the next couple of weeks. So definitely a few things there. We do have a couple of super chats here, so thank you very much for the people that sent those through. So the first one was from Power Prawn Star, and he says he's like Willem Drew. Enough said. Obviously asked last week about bringing in Willem Drew, and I don't actually remember what he scored. What did Willem Drew score last?
He's having a cracking year.
Scored a 60. Scored a 62. I don't know if that's maybe trying to say that maybe Willem Drew's going to do do a good job on one of our players, like a Rankin potentially on the showdown on Saturday night. But that'd be a belter. I'm looking forward to that. The fact that Crows might be able to ruin Port's top 4 chances. That'd be certainly getting them up and about. But I do actually think, I don't know how you feel, I do actually think that the Port are due a showdown win, playing for top 4.
We've won the last few, and we've been pretty ordinary last few years, longer than that. So, yeah, they're due Port, but who knows? Should be a cracker. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Tim Ashworth's got this super chat, so thank you very much, mate. He said, I was dumped last week and traded Myers to Philippou, and then he was out, went Sharman instead. So what should I do? Well, I would be saying trade Sharman and maybe get Philippou. I actually know you still got... actually, no, you would have changed to Sharman. So I'd be happy to go get Philippou, I think. And, yeah, that's probably where I'd go, Tim, there, because... Sharman, I don't think is too expensive. So, I'd be doing that one there. And Jared V, thank you very much for this one, mate. Big one there with $10. He said, suffered the last poo out last week, so have cash this week, doing a double upgrade and getting the poo at F7 to loot with Simpkin and bringing Roberts at D7 to loot with Dacos or possibly late out of Sheasel. I think it's a great plan. I love it.
So doing double upgrading poo at F7 to loot with Simpkin. Yep.
And then Roberts at D7 to cover Sheasel potentially or loop Dacos.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, you could even, you could even. I'm thinking about this. If I had this position, but Hayden Young as well. He's got the Giants. I think the first game's that day. He's a good loop option for the back line as well. But
I'm looping with Humphreys this week. Humphreys obviously got St Kilda. So we have seen he's got a ceiling. Went well against Collingwood over a ton there. So I'm hopeful that he can maybe pop out maybe an 85, 90 this week.
Mm-hmm.
So a few good options in the forward line there. So we will get into some listener questions as well. So as I said before, if you are tuning in live on YouTube or Twitter, then put your players you want discussed or questions you want answered, and we can get through as many of those as possible before we finish up tonight. So Sean's got the first question. So he says, which 2 should go out of Hayden Young, Nick Martin, Caleb Sarong, Mason Wood, and Jai Simpkin? So I reckon let's rank in terms of priority, and then they'll probably give us their answer. So who's more of a priority to trade out, Young or Martin? It's Young, isn't it?
Yeah, Young. But out of the 5, I'd be keeping both those 2. Yeah. But yeah, Young.
So where would Sarong? I'm probably Sarong actually top, just because the Bedford tag. So it's probably Sarong, Young, Martin. Is that, you'd probably agree with that?
Yeah, and also because of who you can get. I mean, Wood and Simpkin. Sure, you could trade them out, but where are you going with?
Yeah, so where would you put them behind Young and Sarong? Would it be Young and Sarong, and then you'd be having, I guess, Martin 3rd, then like Wood 4, Simpkin 5, or something like that, or Martin maybe last?
I reckon just which 2 out of those 5 would I trade out? I would trade out Sarong and
Young. It's Young for me.
Simpkin. Sarong and Simpkin. Yeah, he's doing my head in. Maybe I'm.
I guess you can get I think you can get a better player from Young though. Whereas Simpkin,
good point.
Yeah,
Young you could get up. You know, if you don't have a Sinclair. Yeah, good point. Probably Sarong and Young as well.
Yeah. Jason, who I know has been up there. I know he's in the top 40. I don't know where you rank, Jason. So let us know in the chat whereabouts you rank. But he said, "Do we need to have cover for Sheasel? Club says test. Rumors say out for season. I'm confused." So I actually haven't heard the rumors about him being out for the season, but.
Look, he's in doubt. I mean, as we sit here on a Tuesday night, I think it's a solid 50-50 that he plays. So I think you want to have cover if you can. We just saw it on Sunday. Like Philippou to be out, I know it's a different play to a Sheasel, but just to have a guy out on the Sunday and have such limited options to cover, if you've got decent cover, that would be helpful. But I wouldn't stress too much, Jason. I mean, most people will have Sheasel, and hopefully the club are transparent. And if they name him on Thursday, he plays, and if he's not right, they don't name him. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. See, I was under the impression, I thought today when the Sheasel news came out, I thought, that's okay. Sinclair plays on the Sunday, plays after Sheasel. I can save a trade and do that. But no, Sheasel plays after. So. Which is really annoying because
what are the what are the Sunday games? Let's have a
We've
look
got
at what your
so you got
options would
obviously
be.
Bulldogs and North. So Bailey Dale could be an option against North Melbourne as maybe a
Ugh.
1 week play there. Then you've got
Sicily.
McKercher. McKercher could be an option. Maybe you go to McKercher in the same game. You've got Sicily against Richmond. Could be that play there as well. And then if you don't have a Nick Newman, he would be the obvious one if you're not already trading him in this week. And then maybe even could go Liam Duggan. Someone like that, and Elliot Yeo, one of the West Coast guys, could be an option. So you've got a few options in defence. I guess you don't have obviously your Sinclairs, and if you traded Dacos, you couldn't even go there. So hopefully we do hear confirmation before Friday whether he is playing, one way or another. So we'll have to see as we progress later in the week. We do have another couple of super chats here, so thank you very much to Power Prawn Star. He says he have Ed Richards, Willem Drew, and Hayden Young. Initial trades are Drew and Richards to McKercher and Rosie, who I traded out 2 weeks ago. Anyone else I can trade in? I like trade. I don't mind trades. Kirch and Rosie, I think they're pretty good ins. Would you tick those off? Richards and Drew. Drew and Richards to Kirch and Young. Rosie, sorry.
Oh, Rosie,
hell,
yeah.
I'm so tired.
It's been a long year, my friend.
Yeah.
I like the Rosie pick. Him and Butters will have fun in the showdown, I reckon. Richards to McKerch is the only one I'm not sure about. I know Richards was disappointing on the weekend, but he's playing North. How's he gone before the weekend? His scores haven't been too bad. Had a couple of good tons. Big ton against the Cats, and then a nice one against the Swans. So that's it. I just like his role, Richards. I know he wasn't great on the weekend, and McKercher I'm still nervous about. In fact, I couldn't jump into McKercher this year for the next 2 weeks. I just worry about his foot and not necessarily his foot, but how much North are going to be conservative with him, and they will not hesitate to sub him off if they're worried about him.
Yeah, I was going to say if it's sore, he's off. That's it. So no, agreed. That's a good point. But I'd probably still tip them off. But maybe Roberts could be an option if you needed a little bit of cash or something like that. But no, I like the trades. I think Drew, and one of Richards or Young can definitely go. So don't mind it. Tim Asher's got another super chat. He just says, has Jort's got a code for me to join in the AFLW league? So I've got the AFLW code, so I'm doing the open league for that one. Still not sure yet if Jorts is doing AFLW fantasy. I'm trying to get him to do it. So he might be burnt out from the year, though. He might be just like need to But yes, but I do have a code that I think works because there's no actual code, but Jaden actually sent me the code. So I'll obviously tweet it out later on, but the code is A6PC45I2. That's the code. So, and I'll tweet it out after. So if you want to rewind that and stuff like that on the pod and the video, then feel free. But so what do we got? So we'll get going to more questions. We got the number one ranked coach in the house, Tom Hales, who obviously we spoke to, answering a few listeners' questions. So if you want to get our thoughts, but also Tom's thoughts, it looks like he's answering a few questions there. So make sure you guys get some questions in for the number one coach, because if you want good advice, definitely go to Tom there. So shout out to Tom there. Hopefully you can get the job done and hold on to that number one spot. Josh Hopkins says, thoughts on a rookie down and then Young up to Sinclair? Or would you go Sarong and Young to Sicily and Anderson?
Ooh, I like that.
I like the second one.
I like the Sinclair's a great target, but I don't think he's a guarantee to outscore Sicily in the next 2 weeks. And then if you're adding in Noah Anderson, who you're probably more bullish on than I am, but it's a pretty nice double move, isn't it?
Well, it comes down to who would you rather? Would you rather Sicily and Anderson or Sinclair and Sarong? And I'd rather Sicily and Anderson for the last 2 weeks. So that's where I'd be going there. What do we got here? We've got a fair few questions flying through. Corey Butledge says, thoughts on Sicily and Dylan Moore for Dacos and Young? So would you still trade Dacos out, do you think? Do you think he cops a tag against Brisbane?
I don't even think it matters at the moment with him. I mean, Even
Collingwood
if
is
he
still
hasn't.
alive. They're still alive. 7% chance. If they win this week
No,
and
I
they win next
know.
week, they need a few things to go their way, but you never know.
Well, he's
Wacky
got the
season.
D's in the last round, but yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm not sure with Dacos. Just his output, his fantasy scoring, his ceiling is just not really there. I mean, if he has a really good game, he'll hit the ton. I mean, if you look at his numbers the last few weeks, right? Obviously, a poor one on the weekend, no marks. The week before against Carlton, 28 touches, no marks. The week before, he had 42 touches and 6 marks, and he only scored 128. And 128 is great, don't get me wrong. But 42 touches and 6 marks, he's just not doing it in a fantasy sense. So I think for the next 2 weeks, you could say, Nick, I'll probably start you next year, son. Have a rest.
Yeah, no, I don't mind the Sicily move as well. Obviously, with good matchups. And Dylan Moore, we've obviously talked about a few times that he's a very good option there. I like Power Prawn Star saying, Salem, you kiss your mother with that Matt Jorks. And he said, Houston again, Jorks, just a PG program, mate. What's with the language? So, different time of year, only 2 weeks to go. Definitely, there's a few more options that you can definitely go, even though they might have struggled this year or they're risky. This is the time of year where you can go a bit risky. So
I was laughing earlier when I read those comments, and you weren't saying anything funny. I thought you're going to think I'm weird, but no, that did make me laugh. Power Prawn Star, good stuff.
Matthew Murphy's got this question. He says, I'm tossing up whether I go English to Gawn and Manor to Kennedy, or Sheasel to Newman and English to Marshall. Well, the second trades are better because I think Marshall's in, but I guess if Sheasel's playing, you're probably not really trading him out, I guess. Is that a play where you go if Matt didn't have a Philippou, or if there's a play maybe under Kennedy's price that you could go and do you think Marshall is the guy you need to get in this week? He's got Geelong, obviously great matchup.
Yeah. Now, if you're bringing in a ruck this week and it's not Cherry or Marshall, then just don't worry about it.
Would you?
So, although, sorry, Matthew has to because he's got English who's out.
So I'm
Matthew,
saying English to Marshall.
Yeah, I would rejig it as much as you can to get Marshall or Cherry in, and then
I'd rather
trades
keep
based around that.
I'd rather keep Manor for the week and get Marshall, and then even just go rookie down if that's all you need to do. Just get Marshall in. I guess if Shield's out, then great trade. She's the Newman, English to Marshall, tick. So obviously we'll have to see though. Tom Miles did actually say this. So Eddie Ford does a job on Sicily every time they play them. So, and I have noticed that last couple of times. Obviously, last year kept him to a low score. So, yeah, something to note.
Yeah. He did have one of those games, didn't he, where he was on single digits at halftime or something. Rings a bell. Maybe that was a poor job last year. Yeah. Good point,
something to watch. Gareth Evans looking to trade Simka to Powell. Good move. What do you think, Jordox?
Oh, I've been trying to work out this Tom Power thing for the last couple of weeks. I just and there's been a few players this year who do this. They just turn the switch and they go from absolute, barely fieldable to now we're all targeting him, or flip, like performing, doing really well, switch, absolutely putrid. Simpkin's really frustrating because he's got a pretty handy role. He just doesn't score. He's just, I don't know what he's doing. He just, don't know what happened to him. He used to be such a magnet. I think the whole North midfield is just going past him now. So I don't even know what the question was. Simpkin to Power. Simpkin to Power. I think be prepared for pain because this could be the week that Simpkin decides to turn up, and it could be the week that Power goes, you know what, I'll go back to scoring putrid again. So I don't know if it's a good trade. It's a trade, and it could be good. I don't think anyone could safely say, yeah, good trade, because who the hell knows with North and those guys.
He could flip, yeah. Matt Murphy's got a good question. I don't mind this play. Luke, I bet to say Luke Darcy, that'd be a throwback and a half. Sam Darcy, a play with English out. 614K if he is the solo ruck and they don't name this Lachlan Smith. So I'd be very surprised that they do. He's got obviously Tristan Cherry this week, but he's under the roof. And then he goes into GWS, who is a good matchup. And I don't know whether Briggs, if he's going to be back this week or he's out the last 2 weeks or what's happening with that. But Sam Darcy, thoughts?
I love Sam Darcy as a player and a future dream team superstar. I think we're all going to have him in a few years.
1 goal 5 last week. He's got an 83. Could have even been massive.
Oh, the 1 goal he got was from goal square too. No, he's had a ripping year. I think I'd be pretty surprised if they put Darcy as a predominant ruck against Cherry. Same as we joked earlier about the kid coming in. Darcy's still pretty young as well. I think Lob will do the majority of the rucking. It's just a gut feel. But in saying that, I still think Darcy could be an option because he does chop out in the ruck and he'll do it even more, even if it is with Lob. And I just don't mind it as a pick, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind it either. Yeah, no, definite play. And
I wouldn't do it thinking, oh, he'll be the number 1 ruck. I'd just be surprised if that happened. I think it'd be Lob.
Well, I'm sure that with English out, we'll hear from Luke Beveridge at some point, and he may even say that it will look like Darcy's got to take the responsibility of being our ruck maybe this week, or he might say that otherwise. So I guess if we hear a quote, that could be something that sways you one way or another if you are keen on Sam Darcy there. Hawker's got a question directed at you, Jordox. So he says, in a keeper league, who do you rate as the best long-term prospect out of Michael Annie, Nankervis, or Dan Curtin? And firstly, before you answer that, I'm disappointed, Hawker. You know, mate, that I'm a Crows man. You just want Jordox to pick. No, but Jordox, mate, who would you prefer out of the 3?
No, it's a good question. I think Nank is going to be a solid fantasy guy and like a Brodie Smith type who was always in his peak good for an 85, 90 average, but probably nothing more than that. I like Michelini. I just think there'll be too many weeks across his career where he's doing more of a shutdown rather than an intercept type freewheeling role. And Dan Curtin, I think if you're very patient, long term, will absolutely be the one. He could end up being the big, tall, hulking midfielder that we've so craved for so many years at Adelaide. But you're just going to have to be very patient because it'll be a few years away. But I like Curtin out of those 3. What about you, Bales? You know a bit about Adelaide, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say if Hawker would like my opinion. I'd say Dan Curtin as well, because we even heard Matty Nix was saying about Dan Curtin and saying that the long-term goal is for him to be like a big inside midfielder for us. So just hearing that as well, and he played had a bit of confidence on the weekend. Finally, I was so glad he played a full game as well. No sub involved whatsoever. Kicked a couple of goals, which is good. So he's definitely playing both games the rest of the year. He won't be dropped, won't be sub or anything like that. So, I think he's got a very bright future. Hopefully at the Adelaide Crows for his career and doesn't.
It will be.
Go back.
It will be. He ain't going. It's fine.
Mate, I've got PTSD from too many players leaving the Crows to go home or go here, there, and everywhere. So. Hopefully he stays. Lucas on Twitch, so we've got a question. We don't get too many over there, but thanks, mate, for the question through there. So he said, would you go Zach Taylor to Philippou or Matt Kennedy and loop at F7, or would you go Simpkin to Dylan Moore and improve the best 22, other traders Young to Newman? I'm Simpkin to Dylan Moore there.
Yeah, I like that. I like the question. It's well thought out because it is tempting to play the F7 loop, and it could be fun and it could be quite prosperous, but I think
you need Dylan Moore.
I think if you can get more on the field, you do that.
Yeah, agreed. The Colonel 96. Would you tick Sarong to Newman and Dacos to? So he's going Sarong to Newman, but then flicking Dacos to M8. I'm fine with that. I think Newman's a great target.
Absolutely, he's gonna finish big. Hey, I just have to turn my camera off momentarily, but I'm still here.
Yep,
So,
no, all good, no worries. Sean Lawson's got this question. He said, "Sorry, lads, missed the start, so apologies if I missed something that answers this." Henry's Heroes, who's currently ranked 27th there, so obviously having a cracking year there, Sean. He says, "Have Sarong, but really aren't that keen on any mids, considering Neil don't have Jack Steele." So actually, Lockie Neal was probably one we didn't mention in the mid targets. He's got Collingwood this week, which I think is a good matchup. Then he's got the Bombers, who Caldwell's done a job or two over the last couple of years, because we know that Neil's history before the last couple of years was massive. That was his favourite team to play against quite clearly. Obviously, chasing and Brownlow as well, a third one. Lockie Neal, do you think that Sarong to Neil would be a trade you tick off? Because I think definitely would be.
Yeah, well, he's got that Bedford game out of his way. What's he got? Pies and Bombers. Yeah, I reckon Neil's a really smart one. I mean, he's not cheap, but I guess that doesn't really matter this time of year, does it? Yeah, no, I like him. He'll be quite unique.
Yeah, and he said that he doesn't have Anderson either, so obviously Anderson's another option that I like as well. So yeah, cover option there, but I definitely would do that. He said he also doesn't have Jack Steele. So actually, if you had to pick one, Lockie Neal, Jack Steele, or Noah Anderson, who are you going out of the three, or how would you rank the three?
I don't really rate Anderson. I don't know why.
I'm Anderson number one.
Well, there you go. Go with Bales. He knows what he's talking about. Steele, Cats and Blues. Jeez, he's so frustrating, Steele. So frustrating. He's been good, but he just some weeks he just doesn't get the pill, does he? Cats and Blues, though.
Yeah, Blues beat up as well, and Geelong's obviously a great matchup. I'd probably go Jack Steele 2, Neil 3, because I think Neil's great this week, but next week there's a question mark just because of Caldwell. And I think the Bombers will do that, especially if the Bombers get a win against Sydney this week at Marvel, which we know at Marvel, Essendon can turn it on at any point, and they can play just as good as any team when they're at home. So you never know if they win, then they will still in the hunt, and then I think they will tag Lockie Neal next week to try and win if their times are alive.
I reckon you're right there. I reckon put a line through Neil. I think it's too risky.
I wouldn't put a line. I wouldn't put a line through him, but I'd say that if you're getting him in, with it, unless Carnage strikes, you could look at trading him out again next week, or maybe looping if you've got a loop option.
I reckon it's too hard to play it that way, though.
But that's what.
Yeah, you get someone you're happy.
Yeah,
you get someone you're happy with for 2 weeks, and that Essendon matchup makes me nervous for next week.
And that's why I've got Anderson at 1 and Steele 2, because I think you'd be happy keeping both of them.
My final decision: Steele, Anderson, Neil. There you go.
Yeah, so one of Steele or Anderson. Matt. Oh, geez, bloody! This is terrible. When I work over 3 hours, I'm knackered. Matt Murphy said, if I do English to Marshall, I can only get 515k to spend on mana at F6. So before we answer, I could see your look of someone that's worked heaps of hours, 5 days a week, and you're just like, Bales, shut up. And everyone listening, shut up. That's all right.
Is that what my face said? Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Your face said a few expletives, I reckon, as well. But but I'd just keep mana, I think. I don't think it's worth going him out if you can only get 515k. He's got Saints this week. He's still got a decent enough role.
You know who's 520k? Would be tempting is Jack Billings. 520k. I know you just said you've got 515.
Power Prize, I was going to put another comment in. You probably mentioned almost the unholy trinity.
I'm in that mood. I'm just looking for odd picks. No, you'd never do Billings because Philippu's right there above him. So 515. Come on, let's pick one guy, just one. If he really wanted to make the move, let's go with. Oh, we're really getting into the dregs now. Nah, there's nothing.
No, that's what I mean. So I'd just keep mana unless you can't get to Philippu. But yeah, I'd be going keeping mana and just maybe looping between him and someone if you can. So
yeah.
What do we got? We've got a couple more here. We're going 44 minutes. So we'll go another 10 or so minutes, and then we'll wrap up. So Andrew Domahidi said, thoughts on Dowling down to Clay Hall and Calamarchi up to Noah Anderson? I love it. Tick for me.
Yep. No, that's
Very happy.
That's some good moves there. Cashing out on Billy Boy and getting Archie up to Anderson. I think that works well.
Yep. Callum Fife, would you hold Tim Membry because of the Philippine news or trade Young and LDU first? So Membry's got Geelong. That's a. I don't know how I feel about the Geelong matchup and being a key 40 could drop a 40. I'd probably still trade him ahead of Young and LDU personally.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's he done, Membry? Because I have heard a bit whopper the other week. That's why he's on the radar, isn't he?
The 150.
Yeah, so he had his 150. And he's gone 60, 70, 70. Yeah, no, I reckon move him on if you can.
And I know that the Crows game was wet, but he did score 15 again. 16 against him in the wet. So he can drop a sub 40 score. So
yeah,
and Geelong's a pretty tough matchup. Yeah. So who would you trade out of Young and LDU if you had to trade one? Who would you trade?
Oh, LDU. Just get out. Go on, son. 72 on the weekend. We didn't do my plus and -3. -3 is a long list, but he would have been close. Sorry, I'm ranting now. LDU can go. Hey?
Who'd be your +3 then? If you gave your -3, who'd be your +3 then?
The X-Man. I got him in, made him captain. My God, what would my side
straight captain or VC?
No, I gave it to. I did Goulden on Friday night.
On Errol. Yeah. Errol did a big favour for you and a lot of people. A lot of people just gone, 6 not definitely
actually,
not. But could you imagine if he went a 105 to 115, more like the 110, 115, and people are like, do I take it or do I not?
People would have taken it. But that's what I was going to ask you earlier. And I know you'll do your captain's video later in the week, but what is the line this week for advice to not put the captain on Cherry on Sunday? What does your vice have to score? It's got to be It's got to be 125, 130, doesn't it?
I'm always a 110. That's my line. I've always been safe. I'd rather take the points and bank it. I think this week it could be 120 because if you're going, say, a Marshall or a Noah Anderson or someone on the Saturday, could be a Whitfield against Freo. Like this, I don't want to go too much and spoil everything, but Josh Dunkley against Collingwood, Lockie Neal. You're going to get those guys and they go 115, and you've got Cherry on the Sunday against let's call it almost a ruckless Bulldogs, or the number one ruck's gone. Geez, he could have 50 hit-outs, over 10 tackles, have over 20 touch and go 160 and I don't know if any players ever gone 4 150s in a row, but we could be staring at something like that. So it's incredible.
No, they haven't. So we've got some good stats on that this week. So Cherry's only the third player to go 150 3 weeks in a row, joining Tom Mitchell and Tom Rockcliffe. No one's ever done it 4 weeks in a row.
Very good company.
Very good company.
Could you imagine
to leave him in his dust? I can.
I can as well.
Not even imagine. I anticipate it. I'd be surprised if he didn't. The guy is just, he's a freak. Anyway, got off topic there.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Well, I want to get your quick thoughts because we do have a few questions here, but and we'll answer them before we finish up. But I asked the boys on Sunday next year. Obviously, I know, Fred, you started planning already and put a few players down. Are you starting Tristan Cherry, or is he going to be high up on your list of stun? Because I think he's shown the last few weeks that he's safe at the moment. He's flawed because of his tackles is so high. So, what are your thoughts for next year?
I haven't thought about it in great detail. I mean, I know every year, typically, I like to run a safe, expensive R1 and then a more speculative or mid-price or something else for R2. Right now, if I'm lining up every ruck in that top division, Grundy, Gawn, Cherry, Marshall, English, that's probably it at the minute. It's just Cherry. Like he's a level above the others at the minute. I know it's probably harsh on Marshall,
Very
but
harsh.
I don't
3
know.
130s in a row for Marshall.
Well, he's got
And four of his last
8
5.
in a row.
8 tons in a row, but 4 of his last 5 been over 130.
No, this is nothing against Marshall. This is just
You used to love with X-Man. You brought the X-Man in last week. Man. You're like, yeah.
Well, the thing with Marshall is he's kicking a lot of goals, which is great. But if there's a week where he doesn't kick goals, does he have the ceiling that Cherry does? I don't think he does. Anyway, long answer to a short question. I reckon at this stage I've got Cherry at R1. And I know people say, oh, but there's no value and where's the growth? And he'll be the number 1 ruck in my mind. So I think he'll be sitting at R1 for me. But that's a long way away. So
yeah,
who knows?
We do have another super chat from Power Prawn Star. So thanks, mate. So he said, what's the line for Roma into Cherry? 135. That's what he's thinking potentially. Massive.
Yeah.
That's probably a bit high for me. I think it's 120.
Yeah.
I still think if Marshall goes 122, 123, you just don't know what's going to happen on the Sunday. Like, footy's a funny game. Anything can happen. I'd much rather bank some points. But I think because of the fact such a good matchup, it is a little bit higher this week. But we'll delve into that later on in the week as well.
I'll meet you in the middle. I reckon 125. Anything over that, I think you've got to take it.
Yeah, it'd be very, very interesting. What have we got here? Again, shout out to Tom, who's answering a heap of questions in chat for us. So thanks, mate, as well.
I reckon I saw another keeper league. There was another keeper question. I like keeper questions.
Got a few AFLW chat in here as well, which is good to see. So people getting excited for the season. Apparently, Briggs is set to return this week along with Cogs. So yeah, just didn't read that, but thanks, Sam, for that one. Hawker, can't ask you bars in a league together. Fair enough. That's right. Yeah, I knew we're in the league together. That's why I was saying that. So,
okay. Actually, it was Hawker who had the other one. In a keeper, who do you rank as the best fantasy scorer going forward? Tristan Sherry. The best scorer to have, I reckon. I still think Nick Dacos. You know, if you're doing a startup keeper league, he's just so young. Sheasel, I think, has shown that extra bow this year, going in the midfield, not having that plum halfback role, and actually being in the guts and still scoring like a machine. And I think Cherry, I think those three. To be fair, I can't go. I'm really all over the X-Man at the minute, and it's not just because I brought him in this week. I'm just marveling at what he's doing, and he's only 25. 25 for a ruckman. He's miles off his peak. His peak isn't even here yet. So.
Well, Tiger Fan Collectibles really wants to know. You put it in over 20 times. Should I captain Cherry this round? He's a good option. Yes, we'll chat about captains later in the week. But who? I like that. And it's funny the chat when the live chat when we're doing the pods, and obviously people listening on the podcast, we do have obviously the live chat going here. And anytime someone spams anything, the chat's like ban him, get rid of him, or whatever. Whereas I'm trying to just go, I just want to answer the questions. So we're sort of on a time limit, so I don't have time to ban people and stuff. So, so Ben Hayes got this question. He said, Rivers to Sinclair and Mana to Philippou. Yep, tick for me.
Yeah, easy.
Yep. Blake Atkinson says Meek to Gawn and Dowling to Philippou, or Meek to Marshall and rookie downgrade. I still think it's just, but depends who if you got anyone at cover for F6 instead of Dowling. Depends who it is, Blake. But are you still? I'm probably still the second one to get Marshall, depending on who the F6 is.
Well, Gawn's got who have they got? He had someone this week. Oh, does he have the Sun? So he's up against Witts.
Tough match.
Yeah, and was brilliant last week, Gawn. Don't get me wrong, but he's labouring. Geez, if they lose this week and they're out of the finals, don't be surprised if he doesn't play the last round, Gawny. So, yeah, Meek to Marshall, make that happen if you can.
Yeah. Matt Murphy said, thanks, Bales and Jordox. I think I'll just look keeping Manor and look at trading Taylor down to a basement mid, even if they're a red dot, as it will give me a bit of coin for next week. We've even got Dan Curtin, who's going to be about 220 odd K. Defender mid, flexibility, could be cover. It could be cover as well. I wouldn't even mind spend extra 20 odd K if you, because I guess going Taylor down, you're going to have a bit of cash there. So if the 20K you think's not going to cost you, I wouldn't mind even doing something like that. Just a question, because people said you could even just vice Cherry. Obviously, because we won't chat to you until Sunday. With this week in terms of caps, obviously people are looking at Marshall and Cherry. Is Cherry just that good of an option this week against English that you would bypass Marshall and go Cherry VC, and if he failed, you would go and put the captaincy on a Nick Newman against West Coast, or even a Walsh, or is it still, or do you still just have to go Marshall into Cherry if that's what you're looking to do in your captains?
Yeah, well, the Sunday vice, that's ballsy. I like it. I just don't know if
obviously
anyone...
a lot of people got the West Coast Ruck, so you'd be able to do it.
Yeah, of course. Just don't know.
I'm still VCing Marshall.
Yeah, I don't know. If Cherry, what would Cherry as a vice have to score for you not to take it and then to go into Newman as your captain? I don't know. It just seems a bit... Cherry would need to literally
it could be
under
Walsh.
100.
Yeah, it could be Walsh or anything, but I was just using that as an example. With the
no, but you're right. It'd be Newman or Walsh. Who else in that game would you be comfortable giving a C to? But like I said, the only way you would do it is if Cherry goes under 100, which seems unlikely. But look, you could. I just think there's so many other games before you may as well have a look at.
Yeah, agreed. Sean Lawson says, chances Martin is tagged by James Jordan. Penning Shees News could go Martin if tags incoming to Sicily, and Sarong to Sinclair. I own Newman, 270K, so really anything viable. Sick dog feels risky, but upside is huge. I don't think Martin will be tagged by Jordan. I think Merritt is clearly the guy that they're going to tag. And Nick Martin, even if James Jordan did go to him, Nick Martin, if he's playing defence, if Eston see getting tagged, he'll move forward. And Jordan will then have to go from the forward line up the other end and tag him. So I don't see it. And then Nick Martin last week, don't know if anyone, I forgot to actually say this on the pod, Nick Martin played 100% game time last week. First time this year he's done it. And he's obviously played huge game time all year, but 100% game time. I did actually see him come off about 3 or 4 minutes before half time. And then the interchange bench said, nah, stay out there. And I'm just like, mate, he just wants a break. And then they kept him out. So it was pretty good to see Nick Martin. But,
it's nice of Nick Martin to wait for me to trade him out to have 100% time on ground game. Beautiful. Yeah, as someone who did trade him out, don't trade him out. He'll make you pay.
Yeah. I reckon it seems about it there for everyone. So if we answered pretty much most of the questions. A couple we might have missed out the thing, but obviously fair few people in the chat.
Oh, look,
appreciate everyone.
It's really good. Me and Baz were talking before the pod. This time of year, a lot of people drop off and don't. The engagement's not as strong usually, but heaps of comments, heaps of people in the chat. It's great. We love chatting to you guys, and 2 more weeks to go, so it's good to see he's sticking it out with us. Bales has already got his mind on AFLW, but I'm still here with my shitty team marching to the end.
Well, I've still got my eye on the Content Creators Cup grand final. Though,
of course. Let's talk about that quickly. Who are you playing against?
As we wrap up, so I've got Luke from the Ball Boys. So as Mitch said on their pod yesterday, he was saying that last year Mitch played Tim, and I'm playing Luke this year. So one, obviously, it's completely flipped, and the other half of the other part of the pods, or obviously the other half for them, the other third for us, is in there. And it was best 2 pods going around, maybe potentially. The proof's in the pudding,
clearly,
as Mitch said.
Do they have a third? Do they have a third that they're going to bring in? and I can take him on in the granny next year.
Oh, you never know. Maybe I'll just join him because I'll join every pod because I'm always free, not
true.
doing anything. So you never know. Maybe I'll just jump over there and here and then multitask. So, but no, mate, we'll be glad to welcome you into the league next year. So, Ben Hayes, what charity bales if you win? Well, the hope is I win. Freeze M&D was my my charity. So,
Nice.
yeah, so it was a good one. So. But all the charities are great. All do great work out there, and we should give part of it to all charities. But we are picking one, so looking forward to that. There, and in terms of the matchup, we're actually going to have not too many different. So it's only going to be 4 players. Actually, it's only going to be 4 players. So he's got Andrew Brayshaw, Zach Butters, Jai Simpkin, and Nick Dacos, and I've got Nick Martin, Josh Dunkley. Trade-in of mine and another trade-in of mine. So 2 trade-ins. No, I'll say it's Noah Anderson and Matthias Philippou is who I'm bringing in. So
okay, yeah. Ooh,
it's gonna be a tight one. Be a tight one.
That's tight. I wonder if he trades Brayshaw.
Well, he's got. Well, Luke's got Sheasel's out. He's got Sheasel there. And then he might get rid of Josh Simpkin. Josh Simpkin might be annoying him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, but we'll see what happens there. But looking forward to that. And yeah, so anyway, that'll do us for the end of the Q&A as always. Yeah, if you guys are doing AFLW Fantasy, I mentioned at the start of the episode, but yeah, me and Jane did our first episode early on today, chatting through all AFLW Fantasy stuff. Looking forward to the upcoming season, and he'll be a co-host of mine for the upcoming season, which is really good. So get Stats Man on board and chatting through a heap of stuff. We'll even doing our team reveals next week and chat through our teams. So that should be a good fun. Good fun there. And then, yeah, I'll share obviously the league code out for everyone that wants to join the Open League, the AFLW Fantasy Fanatics Open League. So looking forward to that. But Jordox, mate, where can the people find you and any sort of trade thoughts that you're looking at doing this week?
Yeah, so I'm on X at Jordox 2020 and also got the AFL subs at AFL subs.
Helped me greatly with Philippou. Gave me a full hour to think of what I was going to do. So thanks, mate.
Oh, but the I got to put my hand up because the Crows game, we were a fair bit behind, and that was my bad. I was covering that one, and not only did I forget, but I actually got the time wrong. So anyway, I think out of the 6 weeks we've been doing it, or whatever it is, we've had one go past 5 minutes, and that was the one. So my bad. It's getting really hard. The weekends are getting busier. But having said all that, make sure you get on. We've got over 800 followers now, which is so cool to think.
And a goal that I want to put out to the Fantasy Fanatics community and AFL Fantasy community in general, because the hope is that we don't need it next year as much of the good work is that you guys have done. Hopefully we don't have the sub next year, but let's get it to 1,000 followers as a thank you to Jordox and Eloise for doing this for us. So let's get into 1,000 followers if you don't follow them already. So what's the account username? Where can they find it?
So at AFL subs on X. And if you if you hit turn notifications on, you will get the notification straight to your phone. So you don't even have to jump on and search it up. Yep. And like you said,
I was watching the footy, just my phone in front of me, just looking at the scores, and I said notification. I'm like, shit. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit poo.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah.
Trade. I don't know with my trades. I'm going to do something fun this week. Maybe I'll put it up on X later in the week and do a poll or something. But I'll go do something fun because I just keep doing these moves. You know, getting people in 2-3 weeks behind when I should have. I might do things my way. In fact, on Friday, I told you Bales on Sunday. On Friday, I was so close to going Heaney and Grundy to Philippou and Cherry. But I chickened out last minute, thank God, because Heaney was epic and Philippou didn't play, so I avoided that. Yeah. What about you, mate?
So at the moment for me, I'm going Caleb Sarong to Noah Anderson. I like the matchups there for Anderson, and then I'll be going bringing Philippou in for Brad Hill at this stage. But obviously, if I'm too worried about that, do I keep Brad Hill? do I keep the trade up my sleeve? But then again, so if you keep the trade up my sleeve, then it's like, well, what am I going to do? There's not really anyone I'd trade on the Sunday, I don't think. So I'll have a look at a bit of that. But
yeah, well, he'll Saturday night, so don't think.
Yeah,
you got to remember the Saints are Saturday night, not Sunday.
Yeah, my brain's fried, so we'll recess that tomorrow.
We all need a snooze.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, if you have enjoyed listening to the pod on YouTube, then please smash a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And if you have listened back to the pod and enjoyed listening back, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It would be good to get a couple of those in before the end of the season as well. And then your extra thanks to Power Prawn Star, Tim Ashworth, and Jared V for the super chats there throughout as well. So thank you very much for that. And we're back. Well, I'll be back tomorrow for the Wednesday trade talk. As always, captains on Thursday and pre-lockout chat on the Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time, going through a heap of stuff ahead of round 23. So thanks, Jordox, for jumping on. As always, thanks everyone that tuned in live and listened back to the pod. And we'll catch you guys later on Friday for the pre-lockout chat. So thanks, guys. We'll see you then. See ya.
See ya.
And thank you everyone that's tuned in on YouTube as well. So everyone that's on YouTube, so how many people we got tuning in? So we got a few people tuning in. So make sure you smash a like on the video. That would be very much appreciated. And let's get 50 likes on the video. That'd be fantastic. So thanks, guys. And we'll chat to you soon.
See ya.